Hey, welcome back to my live stream. We're on week 2 of this. This is actually the last free one until October. If you haven't heard, we're going to be doing these live every Monday and Friday through Patreon. That's patreon.com/Dylan, Dylan. And the first week of every month will be free, and then every episode, if you want to call these episodes, afterwards will be Patreon only. And then at the end of the month, we'll do 2 more free ones to kick off the next month. So the next one will be the first week of October that we're doing free. We're going to get into this as quickly as I can because I'm going to try to keep these to about a half hour, and I'm going to try to do a sketch that's from a thing called our wastebasket of broken dreams. But before I get into what that is, I just want to mention this video is brought to you in part by all of my patrons, especially new ones like Tim Bowman. Thank you so much for joining up on Patreon. It means a ton to me. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But also by my Paragon sponsors. And right now that would be the Sioux Falls Game Chest, the premier game store in downtown Sioux Falls. So if you live there and you're interested in picking up a new board game or tabletop game, check them out. They are in the Jones Seed Co. building, and it is a super cool store run by some really sweet people. I'm going to go ahead and switch cameras real quick. Let's see here. I'm using YouTube, so I've got to remember what I'm doing. Here is my desktop. Sweet, this is our sheet of paper, and I've got some sketches from the thing we called the Wastebasket of Broken Dreams. What that is a long list of ideas from a few friends of mine. And what we're doing is coming up with concepts to slap together, and over on my Patreon, we actually I put up a whole bunch of them and had people pick 2 of the 5 that I put up. And this is one of those. So I'm not going to say, maybe I will just say what it is. This one is Dancing Lion. I really enjoyed some of the ideas people had. Dancing Lion made me think of Streetlight Manifesto, which is a band I really like that I used to go to concerts of all the time. And they had some music videos with a lion as one of the lead singers, and I thought that would be fun to try to do sort of a lion in that type, in that style, and make him dance, especially because it was a band that inspired this idea. So we're going to go with that. This particular mashup was by Sean Schreiner, one of my devoted, amazing patrons. So we'll see how well I do on it. And if you are familiar with things like Streetlight, it's a type of music. A lot of people consider them ska, even though that band would say that they're just rock. They just happen to have horns in it. But when you're listening to ska, there's a particular type of dancing people like to do called skanking. So I'm going to attempt to make this lion skank. We'll see if it works. But yeah, that's the plan there. So we get the ears in. We're going to start with pencil. It's a little difficult to see, but hopefully it starts to make sense as things go along. And we get things rolling. So let me grab my phone. I'm going to try to keep the conversation up. If you want to check it out on YouTube as well, we do have the chat available, so I can actually see what you're saying in the YouTube chat, which is pretty cool. It should be pretty easy to find that as well, and I'll be able to respond to things you're saying in there. So I was just Googling some images of people skanking. There's a character historically from music that also appears in your emojis called Walt Jabsco. He's a ska image, and there's a good picture of Walt getting down that I'm referencing because he's got a sweet little dance going on. Hopefully our lion can do something similar. I'm going to do some sort of like noodly stuff. And remember, these have to be comics ultimately at the end. So my goal is to give this guy some stuff to say and try to get some background. It's going to be difficult. Try to do it all in 30 minutes. This is sort of a big challenge for me to follow along with both everyone involved as well as try to draw the theme. If you want to get involved with next week's theme on Patreon, I'll be posting that theme tomorrow. So I'll have a few days to vote on it before Monday's drawing session. When do you give this lion like little tiny feet? It's kind of weird looking, but that's fine. All right, cool. Now we got to give him his tail. So now we got to make this a comic. Holy cow. Not quite sure what to make him say, because typically comics have bubbles in them, right? This dude's dancing. He's getting down with himself. So maybe we just kind of follow that idea through a little bit. Let's see here. So we'll put this disco ball up here. That will be a good implied dancing, right? Put the dance floor around him. Man, what should this cat be saying? I cannot think of something to make him say. It's really actually quite deeply challenging with the dancing. So maybe we'll just put some music in there. And if you think I'm copping out, you can yell at me. Put some music up in there, and then we'll, I'll put some. I'll give him something to say. I got something. So the other day, I did my first single panel comic using my brush pens that I'll be using for this series, and I realized it's insanely difficult to letter using brush pens. So hopefully that doesn't become too much of a problem as we go through this. I've already gone through 8 minutes of this video, and we just finished pretty much the sketch, and now I'm going to bring in some color. I'm going to use a Copic marker. These are alcohol-based markers that are kind of an industry standard these days. I'm not going to color the whole thing. I just like to bring in some implied parts with these. I think it really livens things up. Jeez. And anyway, what's cool about these markers is that they're archival. Their colors are trustworthy. The difficult part is that they're quite expensive. But they're a lot of fun to work with. And however, I'll be frank with you, the first time I used them, I was not a happy camper. They bled like crazy on my paper. They take a lot of getting used to. So if you're going to use them, which I do recommend giving them a whirl if you can afford them, but they take a lot of getting used to. You're supposed to color in little tight concentric circles, but I'm not going to concern myself with that right now. I'm just doing some highlighty stuff. All right. Something like that, I think. Should be pretty good. Get the sense of the lion's body in there. Now, I did talk a little bit about the wastebasket of broken dreams. We've got 100 different things on it. When one of the combinations comes up, those 2 ideas for that combination will get stricken from the list, so we don't see them again, at least for the near future. And we'll keep adding more. Take a quick sip of coffee. Hopefully that didn't bother you too much. I know some drinky sounds aren't everybody's favorite thing. However, if you are a patron on my Patreon, you'll be getting access to that list twice a week, a few days before every live drawing in order to vote on those. So if you want to see a combination come to life, be sure you let people know what you want to see, and maybe you can sway the masses, if you will. One of the other things I've done, if you're familiar with my work, is I've had a Patreon since like 2013-ish, I want to say. Yeah, around that time. And recently, as recently as this morning, I have gone and I've changed my pledging milestones. Instead of focusing on the money, which is always nice, it is my most reliable source of income, I've decided to start focusing more on the community, those of you involved, because honestly, I'd be nowhere without all of you. I would be pursuing this career no matter what, because in my life, I really don't believe in having a plan B, because I don't want to fall back on something and not pursue the things in my life that I deem to be important. But I want to focus on growing this community. And that's something I've been saying a lot. And the thing that really struck me when I started talking about that was, hey, it's time to start focusing on the number of people involved, not the amount of money that they're getting involved with. So yes, Patreon is a paid platform. However, I do want you to know that it's only $1 a month at very minimum. You super duper help out. And one of the cool things we're doing for the first prize in the new setup for milestones is every 10 patrons that we gain into this community, there will be a prize given out to previous patrons. It'll be one previous patron who wins the prize. It's like a raffle. But the first prize will be one of these live sketch cards, your choice from these cards, which one that you're interested in having. So perhaps if you're a current patron and you're voting for different combinations of stuff for these sketch cards on the website, you could go home with the one that you inspired, which I think would be pretty cool. So, that being said, the first prize is one of these sketch cards. Currently, there's only 2, but there'll be a new prize for every 10 patrons I gain. So every 10 people we add to this community. Which I think is a funny way to look at it, because the milestones used to say things like, I'll quit my day job. Well, comics became my day job last year, so those milestones don't matter anymore. Let's get that fang, and I'm going to move his fang up, actually, like that. There we go. I try to do a little bit of shading when I'm doing these, but it can be a little bit challenging, especially with the time constraints. So I think this is really a learning experience in flash drawing, which is an old concept that is where animation kind of started, with flash artists who did a lot of street art, drawing characters as rapidly as humanly possible. And I've kind of fallen into that realm a few times, and I think that this live streaming will be definitely a part of that concept. Speaking of public art and stuff, I do have an event coming up that I'll be at, especially for those of you in Sioux Falls, which is my old hometown. I'll be at SuperCon on September 28th through the 30th, and I'm making new prints for it. I'm actually, in my original goals, I have 3 new prints. It's looking like I'm going to have 7, which is a lot, but partially because there is a new Champion series of prints coming out that are all monsters from different mythology and like role-playing games and stuff, because I've found neat little ways to incorporate them in the Champions mythos and make 5x7 print cards of them. So they're going to be my lowest price point prints. If you're interested in small, very affordable little baubles, that'll be right up your alley. They will be $5 a piece, and my goal is to have the first 4 of them available at SuperCon, and then I'm going to have 3 large-scale prints as well, so you can always check that stuff out. But if you were watching this earlier, I said that lettering with this brush pen, this Pentel Pocket Brush, super difficult, because it's not the most forgiving brush in the world. So hopefully I get better at it as time goes on, because yow, my last single panel comic I did was difficult to letter, and I feel like, unfortunately, difficult for you guys to read. There he is. He's skanking the night away. I smudged a little bit, so that's one of the lessons I have to learn with this brush, is to try not to smudge. But I do my best to incorporate the smudges in the character of the drawing, so hopefully they don't diminish the visual interest or value for you guys. It's always a learning situation. So this is actually not the Bristol board I draw on. I'm just thinking about all the tools at hand. A lot of people like to ask what people are using. This is drawn on multimedia paper, but it's still Strathmore. And as far as I know, all of Strathmore's paper is archival, which is one of the things that I aim to do with originals, is to make sure that they're all on archival paper. So when you take them home, they don't run the risk of falling apart on you or like yellowing tremendously in the frame. Now, if you put print or an original in direct sunlight, they're going to yellow and fade. But the archivalness means that using the appropriate tools and inks and stuff, yeah, it shouldn't deteriorate over time, which is always a good thing to hear. So for those of you who might be the recipients of pieces such as this one, they should last quite a while if you're careful with them and not too destructive. And who knows? Who knows? There'll probably, if we keep this up, that's 52 weeks in a year, 104 drawings a year. So going to be a lot of cool stuff generated just doing this. And a lot of it will be based on you guys. And when we get through those first 100 ideas on the wastebasket or broken dreams, or probably even before we get through the first 100, I'm going to start reaching out to you guys for more ideas to help fill that out, because we're going to need to keep that wastebasket full. And if you're wondering why we're calling it that, one of my biggest inspirations was Penny Arcade's Strip Search, which was a YouTube series, a reality show where they were searching for the next top comic book art or comic strip artist for their website. And that was around I was watching in 2014, around the time that I was preparing to quit doing full-time desk work, start doing comics and illustration full-time. And it was a huge and driving force in me doing that. And when I decided with some friends that we were going to pursue this live streaming and we should do this idea came up, I figured, why not keep the concept, because that's exactly what we're taking from it. I just smudged the ever-loving hell out of it. Don't worry, we'll find a way to work on it. It's the being left-handed part that makes some of this tremendously difficult. We'll find a way to incorporate some of that smudging. We'll see what we can do. I try not to let that bother me too much. I've actually had days where, working on Champions, I get a little carried away, and it's just placement of one's hand. And this ink does not dry nearly as fast as the ink that I'm used to. But there you go. You can see a huge mistake happen. So even those of us who identify as professionals in this field, we still make some pretty glaring mistakes. I'm not quite sure how to fix it up, but we'll see here. I'm just going to add some texture around his body. And the stuff in the background we'll kind of have to accept. I don't view it as a waste, luckily. I used to cringe when I made a mistake like this, and like sort of close my eyes, shake my head, be very unhappy with myself, and say like, well, I ruined it, it's over forever. But I think that it's just a good learning experience to smudge. So yeah, this is an original, and yeah, possibly someone will go home with it, but the smudging is a part of the experience. So how much time we got? We got 10 minutes. Hopefully I can get this done, because I've also got some announcements I want to make. There we go. So the thing is, I always try to ink from the top right to the bottom left corner. And now I'm down in the bottom left corner. You can't quite see it, but I'm down in the bottom left corner. And that becomes kind of a difficult situation to be in because I gotta go back to the right side. There's a lot of like turning the paper and fussing with stuff that has to happen. I actually don't hate the smudging. Sometimes it creates a gray that I really enjoy. I don't know. Maybe I'm just more willing to accept the flaws these days. Maybe put some texture on him, make him have a little bit of fur, and I think that helps out. And put a fill here. Add a little texture. But my biggest mistake ever was spilling water. It wasn't a smudge, because that took forever to fix. 'Cause some of these things can be fixed digitally. All right, get the background of that dance floor in there. Silly brush pen. There's that. Oh, wow. Well, we got him. Let me put him front and center. There's our dancing lion. Let's see if I can adjust this a little bit. There we are. It is time to date and sign it. It is the 7th. I have been struggling with the date today. 9/7/18. Signed by me. Okay. So there is our dancing lion. Thank you, Sean Schreiner, so much for that recommendation. I'm going to switch cameras really, really quick here. We'll talk a little bit. Okay, so I'm back up on the main screen. Cool. So this was, once again, something that we're doing on Patreon via a concept called the Wastebasket Broken Dreams. Every Monday and Friday at noon, we'll be live streaming it, and it'll be in a private, unlisted YouTube, well, not private, an unlisted YouTube feed that you can find through Patreon. And if you're a patron, you'll be able to watch them all. However, if you're not, only the first week of the month will be free. Becoming a patron is super easy. Just go to patreon.com/Dylan. You can submit as little as $1 a month to help support that. And one of the cool things is I'm implementing a new Patreon drive, which will be, well, actually, it's live right now. Which will be a program where every 10 new people we get on board, I'm going to give away a prize. The first prize is going to be one of these. So it'll either be that lion or this guy or whichever ones we make from here on until we hit 40 patrons. And we only need 5 more to get there. So if you can refer some friends, it'd be super cool. Help keep the ball rolling on that. And I'll be getting champions pages out to you probably, I would say, by about September 17th, you'll be seeing your first Champions Issue 4 pages hitting the internet. So that should be a pretty good time to start getting on board with stuff. And then we'll just be doing new rewards every 10 patrons. There'll be a new gift given out. And then once we hit 100, things will get a little bit different. But we're going to incorporate some Champions lore with that. And I'll keep making prints. I'll keep making pages. And I'll keep putting comics together. I wouldn't be anywhere without you guys. So thank you so much for all your support. Hope you enjoyed watching the lion. And hey, if you're going to do your own drawing and you're going to ink stuff, it's okay to smudge a little bit. You know, your hand's going to get dirty. Hey, it's not too bad. But it's okay to make mistakes. It's kind of a part of the process, and these are just things that happen. So I'll clean this guy up. I'll scan him tomorrow, put him online for you when we update the 5 new topics for Monday's Wastebasket Broken Dreams, which Lion and Dance will be taken off the list for now. All right, well, I'm going to end this a little bit early, otherwise I'm going to start rambling. So I'll see you all on Monday. Thank you very much for showing up and watching. It was awesome having you. See you later.